If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, and welcome to Central Valley Talk. I'm your host, Ray Johns, and the name of my show is Voices Not Yet Heard. And we hope that'll be your vehicle so that your voice can get heard. I'd like to start today very briefly touching on the debate last night that I'm sure you watched. I don't know anyone who didn't. And I was thinking about fairness, and I was noticing that that was probably the best debate as far as the host that we've had with Chris Wallace. However, he asked Donald Trump questions that he did not ask Hillary, and that goes on and on. On the day of my show, I get up at 4:30. About 4:30 in the morning, I start watching all the news media shows, and I watched about 4 of them today that had a host and from 3 to 5 guests, and they were all, every single one of them, badgering Donald Trump, and it was unreal, everything. I thought he did a great job last night. I thought his defining moment was when he asked Hillary to pay the money back. Now, I've got a great show lined up for us today because, once again, we were 19 days away from stepping up to the plate and making a decision as to the direction of this great country, ladies and gentlemen. 19 days, less than 3 weeks. And so I had to bring Gary Clemente back because we've got to be as informative as we can, especially for you independents, especially for the Democrats, especially for you people who have not yet made up your mind. Like we said, you need to do your due diligence. Gary, welcome back, buddy.
How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people have made up their mind. They just need a little reinforcement.
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do, hopefully.
And it's at a point where a lot of people are getting, urgency and scared about it. And it's interesting, though, they're scared that Trump's not going to win.
And that's because they listen to the media and
Exactly.
they believe what they hear.
Right.
Don't believe the media, please. The media is definitely one-sided. Without a doubt, it's one-sided. Take a look at it, and you'll see, 90% of the people you see, 95, wouldn't you say, Gary?
Well, I saw a deal the other day where there was 96% of the hosts and the major media anchors and pundits and so forth, 96% of the major networks, which there's about 5 or 6, whatever, 96% of them donated to the Clinton campaign and foundation.
Including George Soros, who supposedly,
Well,
this
George
is not
Soros,
fact, supposedly gave some ridiculous number like $100 million. Now, that hasn't been factual, but I can't say that for sure. I certainly cannot say that, but that is rumored, and I believe it.
Well, George Soros is a communist.
Absolutely, he's a communist.
And so was Hillary.
Yeah. Yes, I believe. I mean, she did her thesis on Alinsky.
Right.
Yeah.
And she went. She was a sympathizer of Moscow. She's been in Moscow during those early days and so forth. She's a radical, and what she tries to come off like, I come from middle class, this that. Back where she come from, she wasn't considered middle class.
Oh, I can imagine. I've heard her stories of poverty.
But she gives you that idea, and it's all untrue. The one thing you can count on with Hillary Clinton, though, Ray, and she's very consistent at, and that is that she can count on her lying about everything in the world.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It could be trivial. She'd rather walk a mile to tell a lie when she could have stood still and told the truth.
Yeah. She can't help it.
I mean, I was watching her last. It's so natural to her.
Yeah.
And like one thing I caught right, and everybody let it go, but she said the foundation gives 90% goes to help the people. It's not that. I looked. It's fact check. You go to 5.7%.
Thank you, Gary.
5.7%. I mean, she lies so much that people don't even question it.
And the rest, ladies and gentlemen, goes right in the hip National Bank. That's where it goes.
That's where it goes. And like we talked last time, we think that we know that Hillary's interest is to be a world power, and she does not want borders. and she's been hypocritical on items that goes back that she says and turns around the other way.
Why would she want borders?
Yeah.
Let all those people in,
Right.
make them legal, their votes.
Right. And so what the public has to do is see through that, hopefully, and realize that there is a consequence if you don't see through it. And that consequence is you're going to see in America unlike you ever imagined if Hillary Clinton is in charge.
Great statement by Gary. And let me in a different way, let me just say something too that relates to what Gary just so eloquently said. You know, and I hate to bring up back Barack Obama because his days is numbered, thankfully, but Hillary Clinton has endorsed this present administration, you know, that has, I speak to American blacks when I say this, okay? You're worse off now than you were 8 years ago. You have to be. You know, unemployment among young blacks 18 to 35 has tripled under Barack Obama, you know. This man had a chance to do some great things and he failed, okay? He failed terribly. His budget is, you can take the past 3 presidents and their national debt does not equal Barack Obama's. It's awful. Anyway, Gary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing the American black has to realize or wake up to the fact that if they could, I'm not talking about those that are millionaires and so forth, but although they by all means not want somebody like Hillary Clinton.
Oh, they don't.
Okay.
For the most part. I wouldn't say.
But you talk, we come up with the black, the media's done it and done it a disservice with that. When you come up with American blacks, as mentioned in the scope of the media and so forth, what comes up to your mind? It comes up blacks in inner cities wearing shirt, Black Lives Matter. That is such a small portion. My Lord.
Absolutely.
But that's the image they want put in everybody's
That's
mind.
right.
Okay.
And it comes down to what, Gary? Those are votes.
Those are votes.
That's why you keep people down.
Those are votes.
You know, and you know,
Exactly.
you look at the violence. You know,
Right.
It's a sad thing. I would hate for Martin Luther King to be around to see that his dream is nowhere near complete. You know.
Oh, it's just
There's more violence now, especially in the inner cities, than ever before in the history of this country.
Look
I
at
mean,
the murder rate.
85% of blacks killed in inner cities are killed by other black people.
But Ray, there's if you just look at some real simple things, and these are items. Number one is what you mentioned. Okay, why I asked the question, why then do you vote for Hillary? Okay, black on black crime is like it's never been before, and it's like nobody else in this country. Not other Americans are as black crime on them as much as blacks on blacks, right?
Oh no.
Okay, then why then do you vote for Hillary? Okay, she wants to take your guns away for protection. Well, then I ask the question,
Why would you vote for Hillary?
why would you vote for Hillary? Okay, then you go down the line and you say, well, wait a minute. Like, for instance, abortion. Blacks or babies are aborted more than any other group in our country.
That I didn't know. Thank you for that.
And let me tell you, it is huge.
Oh, I can imagine.
All right? Now, isn't that a convenient genocide?
Oh, of course it is.
Isn't that a convenient
yes, it
murder?
is. Good way to put it. Absolutely.
Well, why would you vote for Hillary?
Because
Okay?
people have been programmed so much, Gary, and they think the Democrats, they're a friend of the Democrats are their friends.
I look at them as just totally. If any black, if I was black, I'd look at them as they're just as big an enemy to
Take
me
a
than
look at
anybody.
what's happened the last 8 years,
Right.
and we have an African American president.
You have an African American
goodness.
president, but what you really have is an African president.
I remember
He
you
wasn't
said that.
raised here. He hasn't understand the American culture. I mean, he came here as a Fordham student in college, not high school, not grammar school, but
college,
college.
yeah.
He was already formed long ago, and it
Yeah.
wasn't nothing with the culture of the United States. Okay, I always say this: you're yet to get your first black president, and I look forward to it. But we hadn't got him yet.
I heard that. I understand what you're saying.
So when you get, but if you look at what is good for the well, not just blacks, it goes to everybody. The law is the law for everyone. I mean, let's say, well, yeah, that's good for no, it's for everybody. But there is no reason that any black person can tell me, look me in the eye, and say, this is why I'm voting Democrat, and then I'll ask, well, then tell me why.
Unemployment among blacks, I've got to say it again, 3 times what it was
Well, shoot, and of course
during this administration.
we talked about Common Core. That's out of Washington D.C. What has it done for the blacks in the inner cities and the school systems that are absolutely adjunct?
It's just another way that they funnel some federal money.
And who
someplace
gets the
else.
federal
That's-
money? And who comes by to get the votes every 4 years?
Sure. That's,
The Democrat Hillary. Let's just pick on Hillary.
yeah,
Hillary
and
comes
it's
by,
sad
gets the
because
vote,
they go
and
out
she's
and
gone.
They throw. It's like throwing
No,
trinkets
it's
every
like-
4 years.
yeah,
and
it's
then
bubble-
they're gone.
yeah, beads and
And then
bubbles.
they'll come back
Right.
another 4 years because it's election
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
People, please do your due diligence. Take a good look at where you are right now. And I mentioned Barack Obama simply for the fact that Hillary Clinton endorses his administration. Obamacare, for instance, she wants to try to fix it. How can you possibly fix something that most physicians turn down?
And most people can't even afford.
And most people, thank you. And most people cannot afford. I mean, how do you fix it? You do not fix it. You, like Donald Trump, you do away with it, and you come in with an affordable health care plan.
Yeah.
And notice the word affordable. Jeez.
I think of course, we're all going to lose if Hillary's elected. But I think one group in particular that's going to lose the most is going to be our American blacks. Because I could see, if you look at what every country has done in the past and what they do with what I call the deplorables, like she calls them, how can you do? Who do you think she was talking about when she said she was talking about us?
Well, of course she was. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, who isn't deplorable in her mind? You see, I'll tell you who isn't deplorable.
Somebody that doesn't disagree with her, probably.
Well, it's not only that; it's somebody who's paying her. That's where it ends.
Special interest. That's another thing we got to talk
Yeah.
about today.
That's right. You know, you take the people ask, you know, we talked about the media being so one-sided, and let's just say 96%. Okay, now you ask why. Well, for one thing, Republican, Democrat, we think that way and been taught that way. It's the Republican. That's just to keep us entertained. But there's one group that's in charge of all. Okay, those people, they may be conservative, they may be liberal or whatever, but what they are, they're the establishment elite. Okay, and that goes back hundreds
I
of
know.
years. All right, they see this country. They don't see it like you and I do, with the American flag and God in our school and Pledge of Allegiance and all that. They just see it as a place of which they can get rich off of
And they've been doing it for years.
for years and years. And
Donald Trump stops that, doesn't he?
well, he ends that.
He ends that right
And
now.
that's why they are so adamant about getting rid of Donald Trump. My God, the guy's putting up his own money. He doesn't have to do this. Think
No, he
about it.
doesn't.
He wears a bulletproof vest. He doesn't have to do that. He could be out there golfing somewhere in Scotland, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
They'll do anything they can do.
oh, they
Whatever-
have to
and
because they see it ending.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for 100 years, okay? Rothschilds goes back, I don't know, forget how many years. That's the beginning of banking.
Yeah.
They don't care if it's communist or not. In fact, they make more money if it's communist than otherwise, okay? Or when I say communist, I'm talking a communist-style deal.
I-
And now, if you go into what we have right today, thank God for WikiLeaks and all that, we are corrupt.
Oh,
We're
absolutely.
as corrupt as our government, right to the top, President of the United States, and look at the corruption that's being exposed
He and
right
his,
now.
he and his counterpart, Hillary Clinton, who have rode together for
Oh
the past
my God!
8
I go to
years.
the FBI director. I go to the AG. I go. You just keep IRS, the FBI. I mean, you go on and on.
The DOJ, Loretta Lynch.
Yeah, that's what I
She's
mean.
the
I mean, it's all
Attorney
corrupt.
General of the United States, for crying out
Well,
loud.
do you think
And
like
she's
how about the Department of
Homeland Security?
Homeland Security? How about when you go to the EPA? How about
Yeah.
you go to the Department of Education? They're all corrupt, my friend. And this is what's going to come to an end. So obviously, they are at war. Now we sit back and look at it and say, oh, that television guy, I don't like him. No, but they see it as war.
And see, Donald Trump is a very smart man.
Yeah.
These elections are rigged. You know,
Right.
they're doing everything they can. I mean, if they put up 5 hosts in a morning, like they did this morning, with 4 guests, and they every one of them badgered Donald Trump, every single one of them. What does that tell you? You know,
Well, of course, it tells.
If that's different, I mean, you got a guy named George Soros that's possibly giving him $100 million to work with. You know,
well,
they've paid people to start fights at Donald Trump rallies. From crying out loud.
You get people starting to get discouraged.
Yeah, because they believe what they see.
Well, and that's all they have time for. They don't have time to go in the internet.
Like you and I do know.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
so that's all they see, right? But when I go into the internet, I get a whole different picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a totally different picture. And so I have friends of mine that'll call me and say, well, Trump didn't do too good last night, or Trump not did this, or he did that. I always say, well, he's going to win by a landslide, then you talk to me.
Good point.
I get
Good point. Gary, we're gonna go to a commercial here. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 2 and 2. Well, I'm back with my very great guest, Gary Miguel. And I want to tell you something real quick here. Everything that you see on television, 90% of it that you see, the news shows, especially, I'm not even going to name them, and 90% of what you read in the newspaper is paid for by special interest groups that are behind Hillary Clinton, because they've got the most to lose. Gary and I were just talking about that.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Ray, because to put it to where we can really understand it, it kind of reminded me of a situation when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, remember, gophers were all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You had gophers all over. So you were always getting them
Mm-hmm.
and killing them, of course. But we got to where we have a little game, and then we get a 5-gallon bucket and tie 2 gopher tails together, put them in there, and watch them fight while we sat there. And I used to even think then, I'd say, all those gophers got to do is just lay down, and then we'd just spill them out because we'd be bored.
But they couldn't figure that out.
Well, that's it. And so now let's go and look at the big picture this way, with that analogy, right? So we have Donald Trump and we have Hillary Clinton. And their tails are tied together and they're fighting. And that's entertaining and keeps us entertained, right?
Oh, we have a caller. Hold that thought. I want the rest of that. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm calling because I would like to ask Ray or Gary a question about Social Security and Medicare in
Absolutely.
reference to the 2 candidates, Trump or Hillary.
Yes. I'm glad you asked that, to tell you the truth, because if you'll notice, or perhaps you might have forgotten by now, but you notice that Trump, way back in the beginning, he's not concerned about Social Security, and I'm going to try and keep it short as I can. But the problem you have, or have had, is we've been getting robbed, and the economy, and example like the stock market, which was where a lot of money goes, people's retirement and so forth, and kind of a rule of thumb is everybody gets 7%. But I have a deal that where I've worked years on this, and there's always 100% from A to B, in other words, from top to bottom every year. So the question is, okay, you get 7%, but who got the other 93%? Now, Trump knows who got the other 93%.
Absolutely, it does.
You see?
I know what you're saying.
And so he's not concerned about it because he knows where the money is. Now, the 93% is concerned about Trump.
We're talking about the elite again.
Yeah. And there's so much money that would be available to Social Security, and this goes, we'd have to spend a whole show on that because this goes back about 60 years ago, when mutual funds came about, and then people had retirement 401ks and all that. But the people were not educated. It was just paying the money, right?
Yes.
And then you have a financial planner. Well, where does that all get finally connected with? I mean, it has been one of the biggest rip-off or rapes of the American people that I can imagine. Because here we are with Social Security. And if you go back to the way it can be done, and Trump knows this, You know,
I do recall him guaranteeing
that?
Social Security.
Yeah.
And he even went to as far as said, if something like this, if something were to go wrong, Social Security would be intact. You know.
yeah, because the money's there. It's just who gets it. It's not a question. Well, the money's not there. It's who's getting it.
Now, Hillary, did you, ma'am, did you watch the debate last night?
I did, and Hillary had made reference to one of the things that she was planning to do to keep Social Security solvent was she wanted to have people make larger payroll contributions towards Social Security. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like a feasible plan, to take larger contributions out of each paycheck?
No, not at all. That's ridiculous because it doesn't necessarily have to be that way anyway. In fact, it wouldn't be that way anyway. And that is a form of tax. And what happened is it wasn't supposed to be that way. But Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. And so as you pay money, it's to pay off money that
I've read that.
That isn't. In other words, it's like I'm paying you to a return, but I'm getting the money not from what we're doing, but I'm getting the money from a new guy.
Here's the bottom line, like any Ponzi scheme, to what you
Right.
said. Only the people at the top get paid. Okay?
Only the people
That's the
that
bottom
don't
line.
get paid. Hillary's deal is I heard that too, ma'am, and I tell you, Hillary's. When she said that, I said, "Oh my God! I hope people don't fall for that because that is absolutely
Technically, the
ridiculous."
millennials will be carrying the burden.
Of course. I mean, it's a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, it all falls. And that's my fear with Hillary Clinton is because she is not beholden, not only, she won't be beholden. She's beholden to she's a puppet. She's not even the main player. I don't care if she's president of the United States. She's not the main player. She's a puppet for the establishment elite that's been around for a long time. And that's why, and they own the press, they own the media, and they own the Wall Street, they own the banking system,
And the elections are rigged.
and the elections are rigged. I mean,
they're
we're
rigged.
already
They
a
are
banana.
rigged.
Yeah, we're already a banana republic.
Yeah.
We got corruption in this government clear to the top. Now you're not going to correct that with Hillary. Think about this. Hillary is actually the ideal candidate if you are one of the old establishment elites, and you need somebody corrupt to keep it corrupt. Who else better than Hillary Clinton?
Special interest.
Man, I tell you, she can't speak without lying.
I hope that helped you, ma'am.
But the thing about Donald Trump, he knows that who gets the 93%, number one. And he did mention, but he only mentioned once, he talked about an investment banker that he knows who made $280 million
I remember
in 1
this.
year, but he never mentioned it again. Okay?
I'm not real clear on what Donald Trump's plans are for Social Security and Medicare. Do you know what it is, and can you explain it if you understand what he's proposing?
You know, I haven't heard what he is proposing.
I've got to honestly say that I do know that he said that, and I must say that it wasn't explained to my like either. But he did say that he would do whatever he could to preserve Social Security, even if it meant cutting something else. So Social Security would be secure. So
you feel at this point even though he doesn't have a solid plan, he's open and
he
flexible.
Well, I'm not saying he doesn't have a solid plan. I just
Yeah.
said I don't know what that is.
Well,
I'm sure if you went to Trump.com, everything's covered over there.
Yeah,
You know.
and also, if you'll notice that when Trump comes up with something, he's immediately attacked, and there's a plan for that, and he's mentioned a number of times about the element of surprise, and you don't. In other words, if he came out with say something specific, like for instance the attacking there in Iraq or Iran or something, you lose the element of surprise, and that.
He talked about that.
Yeah, he talked
we-
about that. I don't think, from what I could tell, by what I see that is happening, and what Social Security is, I just don't see a problem with it with Trump. I see a big problem with Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely. We need somebody that's going to turn the economy around. That includes Social Security. You know.
Okay,
I hope
I want to thank you so much for your time. And
you're very welcome.
Ray, I want to say you have a great show. I appreciate what you're doing for the community.
Thank you
and
so much.
Gary, you're a great guest.
Well,
you
thank
always
you.
bring
Thank
so
you.
much information and knowledge, and the two of you make a great team.
Well, thank you.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You have a
appreciate
wonderful day,
your
lady.
time.
Yeah, and thank you
Okay.
for calling. I appreciate it. That was a great question she asked.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was.
bye. Thank you again.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good caller.
Yeah, I'm glad she asked that because what I've seen and what I do for a living. Okay, it's almost like I just don't worry about that. I do worry about it with Clinton
So you have to worry about it.
because
Clinton.
I know the money's there. It'd be different if the money wasn't there. So it's not a question to save Social Security and say, well, we got to invent money to save it. The money's already
Already
there.
there.
It
The
just
money is
changes
already-
who gets it.
That's
all.
right. Exactly.
That's all. So, for instance, if we got 10 of us here, and you're the only one getting the money's enough, but we got to change this a little bit, rate. We're going to divide it up among 10, and because the money's already there.
It's already there.
So Trump doesn't have an issue of having to create more money. He just has to make sure that the money goes to the right people. And
That he will do.
and that I trust, obviously, I trust much more than I would Hillary Clinton, who had just the opposite. She wants to take more money from the people to keep the Ponzi game going. I mean, come on. I mean, to me, I feel like insulted by some of that stuff that she comes up with.
It's ridiculous. I guess it's the best they have, because
I mean, it's
almost
like-
like they act as if we're stupid.
Well,
you know?
the point is, they do believe that. And anybody stupid enough to vote, like say, if you're Hillary Clinton, well, if you're stupid enough to vote for me, man, I can't have you around this government.
laughs.
Off to the salt pines, and we'll take your buddy over
She
here.
laughs
with you.
all the way to the Clinton Foundation.
Right, exactly. And because people are stupid. And when I say that, they believe it. And they prove it. And she's about to prove it again if she becomes elected. And that's
Everything
sad.
that you see, everything that you read
That's
is
right.
controlled, okay, by the people who control Hillary.
Exactly.
The Wall Street elite, the Washington bureaucrats,
Right.
all those people, okay?
Well-
They don't want Donald Trump. Donald Trump ends this,
Oh.
this
It's
what
like
do
a
you call it?
revolution without firing
Yeah.
a shot,
yeah. Donald Trump, this stops, okay? People,
Right.
all this stops with Donald Trump,
Yeah,
okay?
It's like having a revolution without firing a shot.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get back to those Gophers. And you've touched on it.
Oh, yeah, the Gopher store.
Okay, so now instead of Gophers, we put Trump and we put Hillary,
Uh-huh.
right? Time together, and we're sitting back like this, right? Okay, we're the elites, let's say, Ray,
Okay.
and then we let the people bet on them or whatever, who's going to do this and that. They don't care who wins. It's immaterial.
Yeah.
However, if there's one of those Gophers that turns into a grizzly bear, I changed my mind about caring who wins. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. I do.
So what happened is, yeah, they've had these puppets all these years, going way back. Okay, this president, that president, this president, that president. In a sense, puppets. The elite has always been in charge.
Absolutely. they
In
have.
fact, all over.
They used to call them the 1%ers.
Well, that's the 1%er and
Yeah.
then above, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, here we are, the United States, quite frankly, at the edge of the cliff. Because if Hillary gets elected, this will never, ever be the same. You imagine the Supreme Court, what that will be like. You imagine guns being, it'll be total chaos. And you talk about poverty. Extend that. Okay, so now we get back here to now we're the elite and we're watching these go. And we said, Ray, all of a sudden this sucker turned into a grizzly bear. And we're about to lose everything
Yeah.
from our standpoint. But who's going to get it? Because the money's already there. The people.
The people.
That's why he's not worried about Social Security.
Beautiful story, and it makes sense. Beautiful. I hope the lady's still watching. Beautiful
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because that is also that's also with everything else, like like for instance, education. Okay, the education is not an education in the inner cities. I mean it is totally, it's going to take a time because you got to change a whole mindset, a whole culture and all this. But I happen to think, and maybe I'm naive in this, but I happen to think if you're an American, it doesn't really matter at all what religion, what culture, what you or what nationality or you are, or what race or anything else. We're all American, and you notice America first, America first, America first. So then you got to turn around and ask. It says, well, let's say you're living in a ghetto somewhere, right? Well, you said to yourself, says, well, I said, why are you living in this ghetto? Well, because I'm black. Is that the reason you're living in here? Yeah, that's expected. That's the way it's supposed to be. Well, what if it wasn't expected? What if it wasn't supposed to be? Well, what are you talking about? I says, you have as good an opportunity as everybody else. Now you got hope. Now you got, but listen, you need help, and that help isn't me giving you $5. So you go down the help is bringing in the right kind of school system, giving you the right kind of education,
Absolutely. Good.
and not a daycare center for 18-year-olds or a jail guard for 18-year-olds. I just don't see why it would be any different, regardless of what color you are, is my whole point. It's because of a frame of mind that's been, indoctrinated over.
Of course
It's not education that they go to, that any of our kids go to. At one time it was, and you and I went to school. That's not education, that's indoctrination. Look at the press you mentioned today. You said, well, everyone was it. That is not a free press. That's
No.
Pravda, just like Russia had.
Exactly.
In fact, Russia probably got more free press than we do now.
There's an oath. It's unwritten among journalists.
Yeah.
It's been terribly violated in this country.
Oh, because they're owned and their job. In fact,
Hannity
they're
doesn't
told-
violate it.
No.
Rush Limbaugh doesn't violate it.
No.
Dobbs doesn't violate
No.
it.
And I don't know how they get by with it. I guess the only thing I can think of, they're probably not going to be their jobs very long, but they don't care, I think, and here's another thing, too. When I say, well, they don't care, it's brave on their part, on Hannity or
Oh, yeah.
not.
Lou Dobbs. Or,
That's a tremendous behavior, and we should be thankful.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's go a step further. If you just look at Hillary and look at her past, and everything, I mean, that's an evil, evil woman, right? I mean, there's so much history on that. Okay, and now let's say she becomes part of it. She's not going to change.
Why would she?
Why would she? I mean, after she's been rewarded for being evil. She's been rewarded for being a liar. She's been rewarded for being a crook. She's been rewarded for being corrupt. Why would she change?
Donald Trump cannot be bought. He will not be bought. Hillary Clinton is a bought lady. How sad is that?
Well,
That's
I mean,
what she is.
She's been that way all along, including going way back. They didn't have anything there in Arkansas. But here's the thing too. People will, and it's a good, legitimate question. Say, and we say the same thing with Hannity or anybody really. But okay, why is Trump doing this? He could be on a 250-foot yacht. He's got golf courses all over the world.
Because he hates the direction
right.
of the way this country is going.
And he feels like he's the only that can fix it.
Exactly. Like I
Okay.
said earlier, I think he looked around. He couldn't find anybody. Decided he was going to do it
And
himself.
he wears a bulletproof vest, for crying out loud. Okay, he's there. He's doing this because of a calling. And in some ways, if you look back, we all have certain little things. Our calling says, "Well, why are you doing that?" It's because you have to. You have no choice because you had a calling. Now let's go back. We can go back 500 years before Jesus. An example, prophecies that came about that came true. Okay, Jesus was prophesied 500 years
Oh, of
earlier.
course he was, yeah.
Right? And so then, Jesus has this calling, and I tell you what, he certainly didn't want to go on a cross,
No, of
but
course
he
didn't.
but he just had to.
Had to
It
endure
was
it.
necessary. Okay, and then we could go to other instances and other things like that, and not as grandiose as something like that, even into our own selves. Sometimes you'll say, "Well, Ray, why are you doing that?" Dang, I just have to. It's like a calling. Okay?
Absolutely. I understand it
And,
perfectly.
and so people say, "Well, I expect Trump to just all of a sudden say, man, I'm done with this." He has no choice because he's got a calling that's something greater than him. He just happens to be just like Jesus was,
The vehicle.
the vehicle.
I believe that.
And,
It's like I
it
said-
makes we could relate to that in our own personal lives when people we have things that we're doing that perhaps, why do you do that? and maybe that doesn't happen to a lot of people, and it does really. Why are you this? It's almost like you were destined to be. And once you're destined like
He
that,
certainly has that determination, doesn't he?
well,
And
then you don't
that's all
have a
about him.
choice.
Look what he's done
Yeah.
in 1 year,
Yeah.
Gary. It's amazing where he's come from 1 year ago when he stood on
Right.
that stage with 16 other
That's right.
possible candidates.
That's right.
You know,
And the thing about it, from his standpoint, I look at it as he has no choice. I mean, he has to do it because of this, what I call something greater than him. It's a calling. It's like he can't get away from it. And if there's anybody that has a justification, it's him, because everybody in the world's hounding him. He doesn't need that. He could be.
he's
he
going
could
through
be-
all this crap,
exactly.
all this stuff, and he's still standing. The man, that's the kind
Right.
of person I want for president.
Well, absolutely that's what you
Somebody
want for president.
that knows how to fight.
And this is what the people have to look up to or look to. Now, here's the other thing: is let's just take the personalities out of it. All of a sudden, let's just
Okay.
take Hillary out and Trump out totally. And you got a choice. You got a choice of a communist-style government that is corrupt, or you have a choice of a free republic.
You really don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice, do you? You're going to pick the free republic
Absolutely.
every time, right? Okay, so let's take the personalities out. It gets to be an easy situation as far as voting, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I mean, it's for everybody. Why isn't it 100%? I mean, are you telling me you want to be a slave? Is that what you want to be? Because that's what you're going to be. But you have a choice. Now, the slaves did not have a choice back 150 years ago, did they? What choice do you think they would have taken had they had the choice?
Oh, they ran like hell.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, all of us, black, minority, I don't care.
We have a choice.
We have a choice. Collectively, we have a choice. And we have a common interest.
We the people, ladies
We
and
the
gentlemen. We've
people.
talked about it.
America first.
Absolutely.
Now, take the personalities out. That's our choice. And I'm going to choose freedom. How about you, Ray?
Absolutely.
You bet. How about you? How about you?
Good point, buddy.
Yeah.
Good point. That's why it's so important. This is so important. This changes this country. And like Gary and I have been saying long ago, we want somebody that can turn this country around. Donald Trump can turn this country around. And he will turn this country around. Don't believe what you're reading in the paper, what you're seeing on the news, because believe me, it is controlled by the people, the special interest groups of this country that control Hillary Clinton. That's it. That's why.
And Donald Trump is got himself surrounded with the right kind of people.
Yes, he does.
Okay, for one thing, to start right off, he's going to clean the corruption that's in our government, which is every bit as much as a third world nation and getting worse. I mean, when you have somebody that can commit a major crime which jeopardizes the security of the entire nation and get away with it.
And I said it again. Look at General Petraeus. How sad is that?
Yeah.
He's possibly going to jail for 5 years for doing 1/100th of what Hillary Clinton did.
Yeah, and she, obviously she doesn't have good judgment, because you have to have pretty poor judgment to even do what she did, right? How
Yeah,
smart
yes.
was that? But the point is, I forget all that. I just look at it this way. Hey, listen, I know with the threat that went on or is gone because of her email thing. And we talked the other day about the airline of innocent people getting shot down because somebody got the codes out of Hillary's deal. And that has happened. So people say, oh, you're just, no, it's happened.
She put this whole country at jeopardy.
Absolutely. And
know.
put millions of
And-
lives in jeopardy, not counting those.
Why
those
would
in,
anyone, Gary, I don't understand it. Why would anyone want to vote for this woman? Why would anyone, knowing,
I don't know. I think it's
unless you've had your head in the sand and you don't know what's going on in this country?
Well, I think that's the purpose, and that's what they want. I mean, let's face it. You got a propaganda machine coming out of that TV every night, and that's our
So-
entertainment, and that's all we have, perhaps. And you turn it on. I mean, there's a propaganda machine coming out like it's
I
no
had
tomorrow.
a lady, I'm going to bring this up. I wasn't going to even ever mention this, but this was a while back. And I was gassing my car up at the station. I had a young black woman come up to me, and she said, "Why would you vote for Trump?" And I said, "Why wouldn't I?" And we got into a conversation. It wasn't all that pleasant. And she said to me, well, you know, he came out with a hat that said, "Let's make America white again." And I was stunned. I said, "Where did you get that?" And she said, "I saw it on television." I can't even say anything more about that.
Yeah.
You know, don't believe what you see on TV. It is not always factual, and in the case of this election, it is not factual at all.
Well, Ray, I'd like to read something to help
Good.
with the answer.
Okay.
And because what it is, it's about the question, and it's very simple, very well put.
Good.
Okay, now we have asked yourself this question about Donald Trump. I mean, do you really feel like you have no choice? In other words, I hear that. Well, I have no choice. I mean, there's Hillary and there's Trump. To me, they're the same, like we just heard a while
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, I want to hear this. I want to hear
Okay.
this. Listen up.
Do you really think that God would leave us with no choice? Come on, people, where's your faith? He has heard our cries. In defense of Donald Trump, try to keep this in mind. Donald Trump did not steal your money. Hillary did. Donald Trump did not raise your taxes. That's what Hillary's talking about. Donald Trump did not quadruple the price of food. Donald Trump is not starting a race war. They did. It's going on right. They want it even intensified, right? Donald Trump did not leave any U.S. soldiers in Benghazi to be slaughtered and desecrated by Muslims. Donald Trump did not send the U.S. Navy to fight for the Syrian Al-Qaeda.
Whoa.
Donald Trump did not arm the ISIS and systematically exterminate Christians throughout the Middle East. Hillary did. Okay, Donald Trump did not betray Israel. Hillary did. Donald Trump did not provide financing and technology to Iran's nuclear weapons program. Now, do you see why a $250,000 a year state job all of a sudden became a $250 million foundation?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Donald Trump did not give our military secrets to China. Okay? Donald Trump did not remove our nuclear missile shield in Poland for the behest of Russia. Now,
Whoa. Thank you, Gary, very much.
and then with that, because with every question that Trump did not do, Hillary did.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other side that says, well, wait a minute, Donald Trump didn't do that. Well, then who did? Hillary.
You know what irks me more than just about anything is that, this kind of stuff you don't see.
Right.
They don't see it because
Right.
they're not going to. They're not
Oh
going to.
no,
post
they're
it.
not
It's
going to. They're going to have you and I sitting up there on national TV talking like we do here in Fresno.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. You are a great guest, buddy. Absolutely. I do hope. We're going to have to go to commercial. I always go over. So we're going to be back very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, in two. Okay, I'm back, and with my good buddy Gary. And Gary has a couple of things that he wants to say.
Well, what we were talking about too while we were on break.
Yes.
What was you call it? We were talking about the fact that it doesn't matter what the personalities are.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
taking the personalities out of the
Yeah,
equation.
yeah. Take the personalities out of the equation
Listen to this.
and think about what you're going to have to live with. Either and our choices are very clear. It's coming out loud and clear. It's either going to be, I'm not going to say a pure communist deal, like well, maybe it is like Venezuela, I don't know, but it's communist style type dictatorship, or are we going to have a free republic? So when you put it that way, and then you start to say, okay, now there's your due diligence.
Absolutely.
Don't go
That's
in and
true.
see what color, what underwear I wear, or what size bra she's got.
Yeah.
That's immaterial. Go back to see what you are going to be living in. And then find out what these programs are for this, based on the track record, which her track record is nothing. She's been 30 years of talking, hadn't done a thing.
That's what he said.
And guess who she likes to think she represents the minorities.
Oh, yeah, I
Right?
heard her stories about
Well, then why aren't the minorities? They should be. In fact, it should have flipped by now, shouldn't it, Hillary? It should have flipped by now.
Yeah,
I mean, she just comes there to get those 4 years and get those votes, and she absolutely doesn't even want out of sight, out of mind.
if you haven't seen Hillary's America, it's not too late. I understand you can order it. Yeah,
you
it might
can.
even be online, huh?
That's good. It is
Yeah.
online.
It's online.
Yeah.
See Hillary's America. You'll get a really good. Well, let me tell you, that's a very good way for you to do your due diligence.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'm glad you brought that up because that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if you watch that and you come out of there without a changed mind, there's something else wrong
You
with you
will.
besides.
I saw it the day
Yeah.
after it came out, and I think
Yeah.
Gary saw it that same
Right.
week. You were in Washington, I think, at the time
Right.
when it came out.
Yeah. And that is not only from the standpoint of a political reason, but it's very educational from a historic region.
Absolutely, it goes
Yeah.
way back. I mean,
There was-
it explains the Democratic Party for what it is, and it explains the Republican Party for what we are.
Yeah. And I think that was an enlightenment for a lot of people because, for instance,
A lot of it was an enlightenment for me.
oh, that's what I mean. I missed. If you had asked me questions prior to that, there was 6 questions I'd have missed just right off the
Me
get.
as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But
It's informative, believe me.
yeah, it's informative and it's scary as it should be, because it will give you an idea what we're talking about. Oh, it's not going to be that. It won't be that bad. Oh, well, really? How come it already has?
The most important
yeah.
election in the history of
Right,
this country.
Right. Since the Civil
In
War,
19
I would
days.
say this is the most critical part because this is going to be a government changing policy. In other words, I give you an example: the Constitution, the Second Amendment, and the Supreme Court election. That
As well as the
Yeah.
First Amendment.
Oh yeah,
First
as well.
Amendment.
Well,
Yeah.
the First Amendment's going to be out also.
Yeah.
In fact, it's already okay. It's already been hammered at. But the thing is, if you look at it and say to yourself, "Well, is it really that much?" Yeah, that's because nobody thought when their countries were changed that it was going to be like they ended up being. I mean, can you imagine the Venezuelan? Can you really think for a moment that a Venezuelan really wanted his country to be like it is?
Of course not.
Did
They
he
were a
really
prosperous country.
Well, did he want to be starving in the street?
No.
Of course not. Did you think those Cubans, when it changed, that they wanted to be put in jail and so forth? Did you think those Russians wanted to be forced labor in Siberia? Because they wouldn't have voted that way, would they? And I'm telling you, this is what we're looking at right now.
Pretty scary stuff.
It
ladies
is
and
scary,
gentlemen.
absolutely, and
You know,
it's serious.
and very
Yeah,
factual, very
yeah.
possible.
And I don't care. You can come up to me and tell me all the things about Donald Trump you don't like, and I'll look you straight in the eye and say, Ray, I don't care. Because what I do care is what he is going to do.
Exactly. I said that for 3 weeks. I've been saying I don't care what Donald Trump says. I really don't. I care what Donald Trump is going to do
Absolutely.
to change things
Right.
in this country. Okay, he can't be bought by special interests. That just amazes me. I
Well,
mean,
here's
it's-
and they say, well, wait a minute, you're saying what's he going to do? Like, well, there's a lot of things he's going to do that he can't say he's going to do, because you see what happens every time he says he wants to do something.
they jump all over him.
But
for
let's
one thing,
think
and
about
it's-
it before. Who brought up immigration? That's an issue with the United States. People just didn't realize. It's like he says, the Trojan horse. These aren't immigrants coming in. They're invaders. There's a big difference.
I heard her say yesterday in the debate, it kind of made me laugh. I'm sitting at home by myself, and she said, she made the statement about, give us your huddled masses. I said, yes. I said, that was fine at the time.
Yeah.
Our huddled masses come in with Uzis now.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point, Ray.
goodness.
And had he not brought up immigration, that issue wouldn't have come up. Had he not,
That's right. That was the first
okay,
thing.
Had he not, he brought up the borders, the walls,
Yes.
which is part of the immigration thing. But he's brought up the work, the unemployment
Mm-hmm.
and the ghettos, and that had to be discussed, and that's getting discussed. So.
How interesting. They hadn't discussed it until he started
Well,
discussing
you
it.
look at some of the things that he
Interesting.
was challenged on, and had he not, and they changed. Look at NATO. He talked about nobody cared about NATO. He talked about NATO. They done something about it. He's already like the president. He goes down to Mexico. I guarantee you, the Mexican that he mentioned down there, which was the president, he and that president will get along, and they're both going to want that wall.
Absolutely, because they're both going to profit for it, and so are we.
Well, absolutely.
You know?
It's going to help his country. He'd love to. You think he sits there and wants Mexico to be a drug capital of the world? Of course not.
No.
I mean, look, my God, they got, Mexico should be really one of the richest countries in the world, like Japan, because they got natural resources.
Lots of natural.
But what else they have, which has been proven over and over, and I know for a fact, there is no
Work
place
ethic.
in the world with better labor than Mexico.
Yeah.
A work ethic that's unparalleled anywhere. Now, if you couple the national resources with the kind of labor they have, how can you not be one of the richest in the world?
I'll be. It looks like, man, we do this and we get to having so much fun, and I forget. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 and 2. That means I'll have to close, huh? Okay. Every time Gary's on, we go absolutely crazy with everything, and so we've run out of time. I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Ray.
Before my audience, tell me you're coming back.
Oh, yeah, we'll
All
come
right.
back. This is too much fun.
Anyway, in closing, as I do every week, I give you a little something to think about, and in lieu of what happened with those 2 very unfortunate policemen down south, I honor them. I pray for them and their families. When you see a law enforcement officer out there somewhere, go up and shake his hand and tell him how proud we are of them for doing a job that most of us would not want to do.
And Ray, I would like to.
Go ahead, Gary.
I'd like to say one thing before I forget. I really appreciate that lady who called in and she asked a great question.
Great caller.
Yeah, that
Great
was
caller.
great.
Sweet lady.
Thanks, that's it.
Anyway, until we joyously meet again next Thursday, heaven's blessings.
Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today.
Valley Talk.